Behind the Iron Curtain, engineers built trucks for war zones, Siberian winters, and roads that barely existed. In the 1980s, the Soviet Union produced machines that were brutally simple, unbelievably tough, and far ahead of their time in design and capability. Many were engineering successes. Some were shockingly innovative. All of them were built to survive the impossible. But politics changed. Factories collapsed, and these trucks vanished from the spotlight. Today, we uncover 10 forgotten Russian trucks from the 1980s that were brilliant machines that could conquer any terrain, yet were quietly lost to history. Number 1. KamAZ 4310. The KamAZ 4310 was one of the most important all-terrain trucks to enter Soviet service in the early 1980s, and it marked a turning point for the KamAZ brand itself. While KamAZ had begun production in the late 1970s, the 4310 became its first truly mass-adopted 6x6 off-road truck, officially entering series production in 1981. It was designed specifically to meet military and civil requirements for a medium-heavy truck that could operate reliably on unpaved roads, mud, snow, and extreme climates without constant workshop support. The 4310 used a cab-over engine layout, which shortened overall length while maximizing payload capacity. Power came from a naturally aspirated KamAZ V8 diesel engine, chosen for durability and ease of maintenance rather than outright performance. This engine was paired with a manual transmission and a 2-speed transfer case, giving the truck selectable all-wheel drive and excellent low-speed torque for off-road work. The drivetrain was entirely mechanical, a deliberate decision that allowed repairs to be carried out in the field using basic tools critical for Soviet military logistics. One of the most brilliant aspects of the KamAZ 4310 was its modular chassis design. The same base truck could be used as a flatbed cargo carrier, troop transport, workshop vehicle, communications platform, fuel tanker, or missile support vehicle. This flexibility dramatically reduced production complexity and spare parts variety, which was a major advantage in the centrally planned Soviet system. The truck also featured high ground clearance, locking differentials, and robust leaf spring suspension, allowing it to operate in terrain where conventional road trucks would immediately fail. Throughout the 1980s, the KamAZ 4310 was widely deployed with the Soviet Army, civil defense units, and state construction organizations, particularly in Siberia and Central Asia. Unlike some earlier Soviet trucks that suffered from fuel inefficiency or maintenance complexity, the 4310 earned a reputation for predictable reliability. Many units remained in service well after the collapse of the USSR, and upgraded versions are still seen today in remote regions. What makes the KamAZ 4310 forgotten is not a lack of importance, but the fact that it worked so well it became ordinary. It didn't chase innovation, it perfected practicality. That is precisely why it deserves recognition as one of the most brilliant Soviet trucks of the 1980s. Number 2. KamAZ 5320. The KamAZ 5320 was not designed to be dramatic or experimental. It was designed to move the Soviet economy, and in the 1980s, it did exactly that. Although the model entered production in 1976, it reached its peak importance during the 1980s when KamAZ became the USSR's primary producer of modern heavy trucks. The 5320 was a 6x4 road-focused flatbed truck intended for long-distance freight, construction supply, and industrial transport on paved and semi-paved routes. At the heart of the KamAZ 5320 was the same KamAZ V8 diesel engine family used across many models, which simplified training and logistics. The engine was tuned for fuel efficiency and longevity, not speed, making it ideal for hauling heavy loads over thousands of kilometers. The 6x4 drivetrain reflected its intended role: reliable highway and regional transport rather than deep off-road use. This distinction mattered because it allowed KamAZ to optimize the truck for payload capacity and durability instead of unnecessary complexity. The cab-over layout gave the 5320 excellent visibility and allowed for a longer cargo bed within legal length limits. The frame was heavily reinforced, enabling the truck to handle chronic overloading, something that was common in Soviet industry. Suspension was intentionally stiff, sacrificing comfort in favor of structural longevity. In real-world conditions, these trucks often ran continuously with minimal downtime, something that earned them trust among drivers and fleet managers. During the 1980s, the KamAZ 5320 became a standard site across the USSR, from collective farms to urban construction projects and intercity freight depots. It was also widely exported to Eastern Bloc countries and developing nations, where its simple mechanics and robustness were highly valued. Numerous derivatives and sub-variants existed, but the base 5320 designation remained consistent, making parts interchangeability one of its strongest advantages. The brilliance of the KamAZ 5320 lies in its industrial logic. It wasn't overbuilt, and it wasn't fragile. It was balanced. In an era when logistics efficiency directly affected national productivity, the 5320 quietly became one of the most economically significant trucks of the Soviet 1980s. Its lack of fame today is a result of its success. It became infrastructure, not a headline. Number 3. Ural Automotive Plant 4320. The Ural 4320 is widely regarded as one of the most capable medium military trucks ever produced by the Soviet Union, and its reputation was firmly established during the 1980s. Introduced into production in 1977, the 4320 gradually replaced older petrol-powered Ural models and became the standard 6x6 logistics truck for the Soviet armed forces throughout the following decade. A defining feature of the Ural 4320 was its diesel power plant, which significantly improved fuel economy and operational range compared to its predecessors. This was a critical upgrade for military operations, where fuel logistics often limited mobility more than mechanical failure. The engine was designed for reliability under sustained load rather than peak output, and it was paired with a robust manual transmission and a permanent or selectable all-wheel drive system depending on variant. The truck's chassis and suspension were engineered for true cross-country performance. High ground clearance, solid axles, and heavy-duty leaf springs allowed the Ural 4320 to operate in mud, deep snow, and rocky terrain. Unlike many road-optimized trucks, it could maintain mobility even when heavily loaded. This made it suitable not only for cargo transport, but also as a base for specialized military equipment, including communications shelters, fuel tankers, repair workshops, and rocket artillery platforms. During the 1980s, the Ural 4320 saw extensive use in remote regions, including Siberia and mountainous areas where road infrastructure was minimal. Its cab was Spartan but functional, designed to be repairable rather than comfortable. Electrical systems were intentionally simple, reducing failure rates in cold and damp conditions. What makes the Ural 4320 truly brilliant is its longevity. The core design proved so effective that it remained in production with updates for decades. Many trucks built in or before the 1980s are still operational today. The 4320 was not revolutionary, but it was exactly what Soviet logistics needed, and it delivered without compromise. Number 4. Ural Automotive Plant 375D, 375DM. The Ural 375D and Ural 375DM represent an important transitional stage in Soviet truck development and remained relevant well into the early 1980s. Originally introduced in the 1960s, the 375 series was still widely used during the 1980s, particularly in units and industries where replacement cycles were long and diesel fuel availability was limited. These trucks were powered by a large petrol V8 engine, which delivered strong torque and reliable cold weather starting, an advantage in Arctic and subarctic regions. While petrol engines were less fuel efficient than diesels, the trade-off was mechanical simplicity and smoother operation in extreme cold. This made the Ural 375 particularly suitable for northern deployments during winter operations. The 6x6 drivetrain, combined with a robust transfer case and locking differentials, gave the Ural 375 excellent off-road capability. The chassis was heavy and overbuilt, capable of carrying substantial loads across poor terrain. During the 1980s, many Ural 375 trucks were used as logistics carriers, engineering vehicles, and base platforms for specialized equipment, even as newer diesel models entered service. The 375DM variant incorporated incremental improvements in reliability and service life, reflecting lessons learned from decades of operation. Although fuel consumption was high, the truck's mechanical durability made it economically viable in environments where breakdowns were far more costly than fuel usage. Historically, the Ural 375 is significant because it directly influenced the design philosophy of the Ural 4320. Many structural and layout concepts were refined rather than replaced. This continuity explains why Ural trucks achieved such long service lives. The 375 series may not have been modern by 1980s standards, but it remained effective, and that effectiveness is why it deserves recognition among forgotten but brilliant Soviet trucks. Number 5. ZIL 131. The ZIL 131 represents the mature, late production evolution of one of the Soviet Union's most versatile military trucks. While the original ZIL 131 entered service in the mid-1960s, the ZIL 131N variant began series production in 1986, making it a distinctly late 1980s model rather than a legacy leftover. By the time the 131N appeared, the basic design had already proven itself across decades of military and civil use, and the N modernization focused on improving reliability, standardization, and service life. The ZIL 131 retained the classic 6x6 drivetrain, high ground clearance, and ladder frame chassis that made the original model successful. It was powered by a petrol V8 engine, which despite higher fuel consumption offered dependable cold weather starting and mechanical simplicity. In Soviet doctrine, especially in northern and remote regions, these traits were considered more important than fuel economy. The engine was paired with a manual transmission and a transfer case with selectable front axle engagement, allowing the truck to transition between road and off-road use efficiently. What distinguished the 131N from earlier ZIL 131 versions were incremental but important updates. These included refinements to electrical systems, improved corrosion protection, and changes aimed at extending service intervals. The truck was intended to remain in service for many years with minimal structural changes, reflecting Soviet priorities during the late Cold War: stability, interchangeability, and logistical simplicity rather than constant redesign. Throughout the late 1980s, the ZIL 131N served as a multi-role platform. It was used as a cargo truck, troop carrier, fuel tanker, mobile workshop, radio vehicle, and fire engine. Its adaptability meant that entire support units could be standardized on a single chassis type, dramatically reducing training and spare parts complexity. Even after newer designs appeared, the ZIL 131N remained in service due to its proven durability. The brilliance of the ZIL 131N lies in refinement rather than reinvention. By the time this variant appeared, Soviet engineers had eliminated most early weaknesses, leaving a truck that was reliable, predictable, and flexible. Its relative obscurity today stems from its sheer ubiquity. When something works everywhere, it rarely becomes legendary, even when it deserves to be. Number 6. KrAZ 6615, 6692. The KrAZ 6615 and KrAZ 6692 represent mid to late production variants of the famous KrAZ 66, a compact 4x4 light truck that remained highly relevant throughout the 1980s. Unlike larger 6x6 logistics vehicles, the KrAZ 66 filled a specialized role: rapid mobility, tight space operation, and support for airborne and reconnaissance units. These specific variants reflect refinements made as operational experience accumulated. The KrAZ 66 featured a cab-over design with a very short wheelbase, giving it excellent maneuverability on forest tracks, mountain paths, and damaged urban roads. Power came from a petrol V8 engine, which again prioritized cold weather reliability and simplicity over efficiency. The drivetrain included a selectable four-wheel drive system and low-range gearing, allowing the truck to climb steep grades and cross rough terrain despite its relatively small size. The 6615 and 6692 variants used during the 1980s incorporated updates to braking systems, electrics, and payload configurations depending on role. Many were configured for air transportability, including parachute deployment, which required strict weight and balance considerations. This made the KrAZ 66 indispensable for airborne forces, where heavier trucks were impractical. In service, the KrAZ 66 was used as a communications truck, light cargo carrier, medical evacuation vehicle, and mobile command post. Its ability to go almost anywhere larger trucks could not make it a force multiplier rather than a primary hauler. Crews valued its simplicity, field repairs were straightforward, and parts were widely available across the USSR. The brilliance of the KrAZ 6615 and 6692 lies in role precision. These trucks were not designed to replace larger logistics vehicles, they complemented them. In the 1980s, when Soviet doctrine emphasized layered mobility, the KrAZ-66 provided the agility that heavier platforms lacked. Its later reputation for danger due to cab position often overshadows how effective it was for the mission it was designed to perform. Number 7. KrAZ 255. The KrAZ 255B was one of the most imposing off-road trucks in Soviet service and remained actively used through the 1980s despite its earlier origins. Designed as a heavy 6x6 truck for extreme terrain, the 255B variant became especially associated with military engineering units, oil and gas exploration, and operations in Siberia and the Arctic. The truck was powered by a large, naturally aspirated diesel engine, delivering immense torque at low engine speeds. This allowed the KrAZ 255B to haul very heavy loads through mud, snow, and undeveloped terrain where road conditions were often non-existent. The drivetrain emphasized brute strength rather than finesse. Heavy axles, simple differentials, and a manually controlled transfer case ensured predictable behavior under load. One of the defining characteristics of the KrAZ 255B was its massive tire setup, which provided flotation on soft ground and stability when towing heavy trailers. Steering was heavy and driver comfort was minimal, but these were accepted compromises. The truck's purpose was not efficiency or ergonomics, it was capability. During the 1980s, the KrAZ 255B was widely used as a prime mover, heavy cargo truck, and base for specialized military equipment. Its mechanical simplicity allowed it to operate in remote regions for long periods without major maintenance facilities. Fuel consumption was high, but in environments where failure meant isolation or mission collapse, reliability was paramount. The brilliance of the KrAZ 255B lies in its extreme specialization. It did not attempt to be versatile or economical. It was designed to succeed where others could not operate at all. Even today, surviving examples are respected for their sheer mechanical resilience. Number 8. Minsk Automobile Plant 543 M7310 Uragan. The MEZ 543M and MEZ 7310 Uragan were among the most advanced heavy-wheeled chassis produced by the Soviet Union and were fully operational during the 1980s. These 8x8 vehicles were not conventional trucks. They were strategic mobility platforms designed to carry extremely heavy and sensitive equipment across long distances without reliance on rail infrastructure. The MEZ 543 family originated in the 1960s, but the 543M and later 7310 variants represented mature configurations used throughout the 1980s. They featured a distinctive dual-cab layout, allowing long payloads to be carried centrally. Power came from a high-output diesel engine, designed to move massive loads at moderate speeds with high reliability. These chassis were primarily used as missile transporters, radar carriers, airfield service vehicles, and heavy engineering platforms. Their all-wheel drive system, independent suspension elements, and massive frame allowed them to operate on unprepared surfaces while carrying loads that would overwhelm standard trucks. What made these MEZ models brilliant was their strategic impact. By placing major systems on mobile-wheeled platforms, the Soviet Union gained flexibility in deployment and concealment. This approach influenced heavy vehicle design worldwide and remains relevant today. Despite their importance, these vehicles are rarely discussed outside specialist circles. Yet, in the 1980s, they represented the peak of Soviet heavy-wheeled engineering. Number 9. Minsk Automobile Plant 533. The MEZ 533 was one of the most powerful and strategically important wheeled trucks in Soviet service, and it remained actively used throughout the 1980s despite originating earlier. Designed specifically as a heavy prime mover, the MEZ 533's primary task was to transport main battle tanks, self-propelled artillery, and other extremely heavy tracked vehicles over long distances. This role was critical in a country where rail transport was not always available or flexible enough for rapid redeployment. The MEZ 533 used an 8x8 drivetrain and a massive diesel engine derived from tank power plant technology, providing exceptional low-speed torque. Rather than optimizing for fuel efficiency or speed, engineers focused on sustained pulling power and drivetrain durability. The transmission and transfer case were engineered to handle enormous stress, especially when towing multi-axle semi-trailers loaded with armored vehicles weighing tens of tons. One of the defining strengths of the KamAZ 533 was its ability to operate independently of paved roads. While it was often used on highways, it could also traverse dirt roads, snow, and semi-prepared terrain while towing heavy loads, something that many Western heavy transporters of the era struggled to do reliably. This capability gave Soviet logistics planners a major advantage, particularly in Eastern Europe and remote regions of the USSR. During the 1980s, the KamAZ 533 was widely used by Soviet Army transport battalions, engineering units, and heavy construction organizations. It was also exported to Allied states, where it earned a reputation for being extremely rugged but demanding to operate due to its size and weight. Driver training was critical, and the truck was never intended for casual or civilian use. The brilliance of the KamAZ 533 lies in its mission clarity. It was not adaptable or versatile like smaller trucks, but it did one job exceptionally well. By enabling the road transport of heavy armor without dismantling or rail dependency, it significantly increased operational flexibility. Its continued use well into the post-Soviet era is strong evidence of the soundness of its design. Number 10. ZIL 130. The ZIL 130 may be one of the most overlooked yet economically important Soviet trucks of the 1980s. Although first introduced in the 1960s, the ZIL 130 remained in full-scale production and active service throughout the 1980s, particularly in urban, industrial, and agricultural roles. By that time, it had become the standard medium-duty truck for much of the Soviet civilian economy. The ZIL 130 was powered by a petrol V8 engine, selected for simplicity, reliability, and ease of maintenance rather than fuel efficiency. This choice reflected Soviet industrial realities. Petrol was widely available, and maintenance infrastructure favored simple mechanical designs. The truck used a 4x2 drivetrain, making it primarily a road vehicle, but its reinforced frame allowed it to tolerate poor surfaces and chronic overloading. What made the ZIL 130 brilliant was its extreme versatility. It served as a flatbed, dump truck, tanker, fire engine, refrigerated carrier, and municipal service vehicle. Entire fleets could be standardized around this single model, simplifying logistics and driver training. In the 1980s, ZIL 130s were everywhere, from construction sites and farms to city streets and factories. Late production ZIL 130 trucks incorporated incremental improvements in materials, braking systems, and electrical reliability, reflecting decades of operational feedback. While the basic design remained unchanged, these refinements extended service life and reduced downtime. Many ZIL 130 trucks built in the 1980s remained operational well into the 2000s. The ZIL 130's lack of modern fame is precisely because it became invisible infrastructure. It wasn't rare, extreme, or glamorous, but it was dependable and adaptable on a massive scale. In economic terms, few Soviet vehicles contributed more to daily productivity during the 1980s than the ZIL 130. That quiet effectiveness is why it deserves recognition as a forgotten but brilliant truck. So that's it for today. If you like this video, then please hit the like and subscribe button for more videos. Thanks.